Episode 29. Welcome, welcome. The Daily B Show. We got Samantha Moir joining us today, and we're going to chat about maintaining momentum. And yeah, all from getting momentum to start with, then the challenges of maintaining it, keeping it, holding on to it, the ebbs and flows of it. Yeah, and we'll just see where we go from there. So, Samu, here she is. Add. Boom. Hey guys. I just come back from a walk. I'm puffed. Been kicking the footy around outside. You know that's coming on. Here she comes. Hey Dee. Hey Valerie. Do you Valerie? Here
Hello,
with me.
hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Let me just get
Looking
you.
beautiful as always.
Oh, thank you very much. Right, there we go. We good? You can hear me okay?
Hello. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah, stop it.
Pain in the ass. So thanks for hanging out again. By popular demand, people have been asking to get you back on and to have another chat and just to
Yay.
basically pick up where we left off. And yeah, I mean, we only met the day, was it the day before we did the show?
Yeah.
A couple of days before
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
And man, we've just been flowing together ever since. It's been really
Yeah.
fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Building up that momentum.
Totally. So let's talk about it. Momentum.
Yes. Well, it basically, the reason why we're talking about it is because it seems to be coming up today in a lot of chats for you and for me. And just taking the daily inspiration and speaking to what people are talking to us about, because obviously it's the collective consciousness within our network is on some sort of a path. And when I got your message today, you're like a bit flat. I fucking got on the smoke last night, so I was fucked for the day today. And we were just like both in our Zen spot, just sort of, yeah, allowing ourselves and making it okay that we were at where we're at. And then we got obviously caught up with a lot of conversations with people in a similar sort of headspace. So yeah, we want
I
to kick
think,
off from where I was.
well, I think from all the conversations that I'm having is the whole idea around like keeping the momentum going is about it being on a high 24/7. You've just got to be hustling 24/7. You've got to be finding yourself, following your passion, following your dream 24/7. And it just doesn't work like that. Like in order to keep momentum, you have to be kind to yourself in that time and having that space and having really clear boundaries around knowing when enough is enough and when you need to go, I'm not feeling passionate about anything right now, or I'm not feeling like I'm on point with anything right now. That's when it's time to go. I need to cut and I need to walk for 5 minutes and just get away from this, because I call that my creative flow room. That's where I kind of need outside influence and just talking to people where I'm not working, or having conversations that aren't so like deep for me to just be able to connect back to what I love doing. Because as soon as it becomes incredibly, well, for me personally, when it becomes so full of pressure, I'm not running at that momentum because I'm feeling really restricted in everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. Can we go back a step as well and maybe for people define what momentum is for us?
Well, momentum for me is having a goal, and when you're completely focused on getting there and getting and you're working, you're doing all your action steps, you're doing everything that you need to get there, but also maintaining a really strong sense of self within that as well, like knowing who you are, knowing how you work, knowing what your strengths are, knowing when you are starting to trigger yourself or your body and your emotions, and you're physically getting told by yourself that it's time to let go, and it's time to, like that string, you've got to, it's being pulled like that, you've got to let go a little bit to kind of move forward as well. So for me, momentum's really, really about, and I'm all about self-pacing as well. You can have really strong momentum, but being realistic about the pace that you go towards that goal too. What about
Yeah,
you? What does that mean to you?
yeah. So, and you're talking about with the pace, like just being able to have maintain composure as well. Like, and like, I think people think of momentum as like on a roller coaster ride going down the fast part, but a roller coaster composes itself when it's going up the hills as well as letting loose when it's going down them as well. So for me, it's like this feeling where I recognize that I'll use the roller coaster metaphor again, where you sort of on this upward spiral of motivation, and then the opposite of that, when you sort of have a slump or have moments of confusion or overwhelm or uncertainty, I think is one as well, where that sort of seems like it hinders the momentum. But I think what I'm learning now is that that's just a part of that roller coaster ride, and one thing I actually spoke about in a video a couple of days ago was that successful people recognize that they have those peaks of motivation, and they do drop, and that's where most people quit or fail or don't or just go back and start again on something new. But high performers, they recognize that their goals here, there is this wave of momentum and motivation and peaks and troughs where they do need to, just like when you exercise in a muscle, you need to stretch it and put tension on it, pull that tension, but then it needs to release so it can heal and it can rest and it can create itself and grow into the strength that it's going to be. So that's what I see now as momentum, to define it as just consistent movement forward and more of an energetic pull forwards. And as long as I can still feel that even in the down times, then I feel I'm maintaining that momentum.
And I think, like using your metaphor with the roller coaster, going up like that all the time, that's exhausting. Like you just can't keep to that. You just can't seem to keep to being on that level, because you need those, ups and downs and those troughs to realign what's important. Because if you're constantly going up and saying yes to everything and everything's great all the time, you're not really kind of, even from a business point of view or a life point of view, you're not kind of staying on task about what you're trying to achieve and where you're trying to go. So having those down moments, I used to say to people, whenever they were feeling like they were stagnating or they were going in that down, go back to your paperwork, go back to your foundation, go back to what it is that's important, and use this time where you're feeling like you need to assess again, so that you can go back up and leave all the baggage behind at the bottom, and then, start the ascent again. So I think, and I mean, for me, the entrepreneurial journey is hard. Like, it is a hard journey. It is challenging, and in that comes that passion as well. So it's got that dichotomy all the time. So you're feeling exhausted but inspired, and you're feeling, passionate, but you're at your wit's end about what to do and all the responsibilities that you have. So it's a constant ebb and flow of trying to find where you sit in the middle, because you're, as like in business for myself, you can be so passionate and all consuming, and then that can be the part where you fall down, because you are so all consuming that everything else around you is falling apart at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's one of the biggest mindset shifts I've noticed, going from an employee mindset to a business owner, or in the process of making that transition, is that as an employee, there's all this life's created about security and consistency. And so the employee within me wants everything to be just smooth sailing. I've got the same pay, I've got my same situation, same routine, and it's just sort of this gliding across, right? But as soon as you take that leap, it is really identifying that you're going to have those inspirational moments, but then when you do hit momentum, you do create some growth, you do level up, you just met with another problem and another next hurdle to get to the next level. And so you do need to maybe retrain yourself or get some new skills, or rethink some strategies, or implement something completely new, which slows down that growth, but it seemingly slows down, but you're actually just doing what you need to keep going as well. So it's just that mindset.
And there's not like a race to the finish line, like I think I said in the last interview video that we did about, like, I like to journey with things. So if you're creating your own rules to life and you're creating your own business and you're wanting to do it the way that it fits in with you and your families and everything like that, then there doesn't have to be this race. And I think that's where, so we can be like, yes, this is amazing, I just want to do what I want to do. And then when we hit that hurdle, we feel like the whole thing is going to fall down. But if you're building properly and using the momentum to build the foundation properly, then even if you do hit a hurdle and you fall down, you can get back up and hop over it. You're not feeling like you're starting from the bottom again. And like you're saying with the employee mindset, you know, I think there's a saying where it's like you leave a 9-to-5 job or working 40 hours a week to become an entrepreneur, to work 80, because it's so all consuming. And I know with the women that I work with, they can work in their businesses and even relating to finding yourself and doing that soul searching and everything like that, that you can be working on it for 40 hours a week, but if you're passionate about it, you're working on it another 40 hours in your head. You're going to bed thinking about it. You're waking up thinking about it. It's all consuming. So if you're built, there doesn't have to be a race to the finish line. This whole journey and that whole momentum is about enjoying it and understanding it and really living it, so that in 5 years you haven't missed it just trying to build the momentum so quickly that you're having other people relay your achievements and your things that are going on for you, because you've been so focused and so worried about building that momentum that you miss everything as well. So journey with it more rather than feeling like you're just racing.
100%. Tanya said, I'm consistently picking my smashed heart up to open business in love. Slowly catch monkey. Yeah, it's and that's the illusion that we're basically brought up with, is that, you know, work hard so you can get a good grade, work hard so you can get a good job, work hard so you can get a degree, and there's always this constant clawing and gnawing and scratching and kicking and fighting to try and get somewhere. And that's the whole illusion, is that there is nowhere to get. The past and future is but just an illusion in our minds, and all we've got is right here and right now. And so it is that journey. It is that we're living our lives right now. It's not about where we're going to get and what we're going to go to.
And I did a video the other day about just have fun with it, you know, just have fun with that journey. And I've been speaking to a lot of people who, like a lot of women lately, who I think because of all the pressure and because of all the expectations and because of all the trying to just get results for anything, they're just missing all these beautiful things that are happening around them, all these lessons, and they're not seeing what they're learning, and they're not really appreciating the downtime that they're getting, because it's just like, oh, I feel like I've been kicked in the guts and this is too hard. And they're not seeing like what they've contributed to that, so that they don't do that again, or what they've learned about themselves through that, or who they are because of that. And there's all this, you know, don't worry about the mental stuff, don't worry about the emotional stuff. I need tangible results, and I don't care what goes on anywhere else. And that's just not the reason that a lot of people are asking more questions and wanting to see more and do more, is because this isn't enough. Like being, you know, stuck in that old headspace isn't enough for people anymore. So why are we still working to those frameworks? You know, we're trying to do something new, but working off old frameworks.
Yeah. You get me a little bit excited, because this is all about the hero's journey. And I've been banging on about this for a long time, and still learning more and more about it, because it's pretty in depth, the archetypes that it brings up that are within us. But in a nutshell, the hero's journey is a journey from our material world, and to then let that go and journey within to find our gifts and our true source and our true power. And then once we find that, to journey back and then help other people to essentially go on that journey for themselves. And one of the 99% of the population hasn't even accepted that call to action, that call to adventure. And we feel like making a change is changing the metaphorical curtains in our head or in our mind, or pushing certain people out, or getting rid of a negative, whatever it is, right? And they don't realize that change that they need to make is really literally like a death within themselves, and it's epic. But the thing is that most people meet mentors like yourself, or coaches, or things come up in their lives to sort of take them on that journey, on that adventure within, but they refuse it. Like, by nature, human beings are really lazy, mentally lazy. And so the majority of people are like, I don't want to fucking do that. Like I was happy focusing on going to work, getting paid, come back, not worrying about this, or focusing on the material stuff. And what the whole point of that journey is when the hero finally takes that adventure, goes through all the challenges and the tests and all the fucking shit that they need to go through, and they find their true what's going on. They recognize that it was never about the Ferrari, it was never about the money, it was never about the business or the relationship or the family or whatever it is that we had thought we were striving for. It was not about that. And this is maybe a bit of a spoiler alert, but it's about the person that they're becoming. The person that we're becoming is the elixir of life that they're actually striving for. And that's when those material things just wash away at that point. But it's like literally the 1%, if that, take that journey. Most people don't.
Well, you're the only constant in your entire life, right? Like you're the only person that is going to constantly be through every experience. So I ask a question when I speak to some of the women that I work with about why do you do that, right? And I'll say, why did you make that choice? And when they say things like, I don't know. And I'm, okay, so our problem here isn't all this other stuff that we're talking about. I want you to step back and start to understand who you are here, like why you acted that way, what made you feel whatever it was that you felt. We need to be not looking externally for all these things to be fixed or changed or everything. If you're not knowing where your thoughts are coming from or where your actions are coming from or anything about you, if you're still questioning if you're walking through the world doing things instinctively and you don't know where that comes from, that's where that journey should be starting, about understanding what makes you tick, what makes you afraid, what makes you happy, what makes you excited about life, rather than striving to have all these, walking through life just going, okay, I need that bag and I need that car because they'll make me happy, but it won't. And if you don't know what makes you happy or you don't know why you're striving for that, that's, yes, totally. Get in line, get aligned.
It is, man. And everything outside of us points back at ourselves. Everything's just pointing at us to show us how fucking epic we are, that we've already got everything that we desire, everything we need, and everything we've got it all. It's all about, pointing us towards ourselves.
And being able to celebrate as well, because I feel like our generations, like millennials, we're quite deep thinkers and we're a lot more spiritually based now, and we're constantly looking for meaning, but it becomes so deep that it's also like, what about just liking who you are? Or what about just understanding? Or what about just being in the moment and understanding where that does that I see it all the time, because we're so focused on getting to a certain place, and I'm constantly talking to people about that, like what do you feel right now, how can you make that better, celebrate what you've achieved. And in the majority of the cases they'll go, I haven't really achieved anything, or especially with like 2019 coming up, I'll say to people, what was the highlight of the year? What have you learned? What have you achieved? What has been amazing? And I think they may think that I'm looking for, like, I made $1 million, and I'm like, no, tell me what you learn about yourself. Tell me, celebrate something that you 5 years ago could never have done, that you're doing now, that you're not even worried about anymore. So I'm super passionate about people just going within and really just liking the whole process, rather than just externally trying to always be clawing away at something to get meaning. It's all right there. It's all in there. You've just got to chip away at it.
Yeah. Be aware, self-aware.
Yeah, totally.
So tell me, what's some of the things you've achieved in 2018? Let's give some examples.
What have I achieved? I've learnt that I've learnt what behaviours I'm addicted to of my own, good and bad. So things that I've done that have been a prominent theme throughout my whole life. And when it came to letting go of certain things, it wasn't even if that stopped, it was me being addicted to still doing the same thing and learning that I could overcome that, and actually being really aware of how much I am truly responsible for in my interactions, in my life, where my life was at, where it is. Really aware of personal responsibility this year. And my other achievements are just being laser focused on my goals and actually going, I create my own fate and I live the life I want to live. So I'm just not looking for any external approval anymore. And it's just going to be what it is. And that takes, and I still falter on that, but it's still, I'm very much about just doing what I want to do now and not worrying about it. And so it's been a big to the world. Yeah.
Absolutely, I bet. Completely changed. And do you recognize that there's been like a death of the old you, and there's been aspects of yourself that literally have had to go to make space for these new character traits? And
and again, like understanding that even one of the things was, what if I get everything that I want, right? So that was one of the questions that I had this year. What if I actually get everything that I want? And being faced with that it was nothing to do with anybody else. That was me, whether or not I was going to like receive it and accept it and actually take that on, because I could work as much as what I wanted. And then when it was in front of me, was I going to actually sabotage it? And I had to build that, yes, I deserve it. Yes, I'm worth it. All those different things. And really, really understanding how much, again, responsibility I have in how my life plays out. And that's been massive for me this year.
Game changer. That's
huge. What about you?
It's
2018.
Yeah. It's a tough pill to swallow, that one too, to start with.
Yes.
Take some time.
Yes.
I have learned my value. Still being challenged, but learning and quickly identifying the value that I do have to offer and to share. Worth as well. I've been able to let go of a lot of what I didn't even realize was there, but anger and resentment. I was able to create harmony in some relationships that were very out of alignment for years. So that was that. And I've stepped out from behind the curtain, from behind my own insecurities, and recognized that there's too many people out there just waiting for the people around them to step up and step out and to show them what's possible. And the effort that it takes to step out from behind my insecurities, I've recognized, it pales in comparison to the pleasure I get from seeing others draw from that strength.
Yes.
It's been a game changer.
And has that been quite confronting for you, like seeing where you sit in all of those different lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, definitely. Like yourself, I found it hard to receive to begin with. Like I did a course. I didn't even want to tell my story because either I felt like I was going to sound like a sob story, which I didn't want to sound like, or I was going to big note myself and sound like I was fooling myself. So I didn't want to talk about my pains because I thought it was just going to be a sob story. I didn't want to talk about my wins because I thought I was big noting myself. So I was like, I can't relate to anyone, or no one can relate to me because I'm not sharing myself. I'm not willing and open to share myself.
Well, people sharing their stories is the biggest catalyst for change in anything, right? Like, so both of those, you were worried that people would think that you were big noting yourself or it was a sob story, but it's all around how other people receive it. But it doesn't make your experience any less true, right? So, And it is what it is, whether people like to hear it or not, or whether people believe it or whatever. The whole thing around sharing your story is that it's true to you and you're expressing it the way that you understand it and the way that you feel it. And that is where the bravery comes from for anyone sharing a story. But it does pave the way for, and there will always be someone that will relate to it, even if it's not exactly the same story. They will relate to the emotions, because we all have times of self-doubt and disbelief and you know, just lacking in confidence, or, you know, just not wanting to launch into anything new. We all have those experiences. And the biggest way that change will ever come is people sharing stories and really being able to own their story and being able to talk about it. Because once you get rid of the shame or the guilt, you're just openly sharing it. There's so much power in that vulnerability, and there is so much strength in that. And I think 2018 has been that for so many people, of going, I just can't carry this baggage anymore. Like, for where I want to go, it's too heavy. I've got to let this go, and I've just got to be braver than my fear. And that's how they've got to go forward with it.
It's epic. It's next level. And I think one of the most common things I'm hearing is, oh my God, I've never opened up to anyone about that before. Mm-hmm. It's because people are seeing me open up and seeing me, expose myself and be raw and authentic, that they do attach to that. And one of the things that really helped me get to that point was one of my mentors told me that people listen to stories with themselves in it. So they're not, it's less about the story of me. I'm just sort of creating a framework, but they're listening to it with themselves in my story. Mm-hmm. And so, like you said, it's just our strength by doing that, and by putting ourselves out there and sharing our story, is just the example for them, and it shines back the mirror of them, of what they're capable of, to be able to step out and overcome whatever they're going through, to step up and be there for other people if that's where they're at, or anywhere in between. So it's more about just being the example and being the role model for me, and that's probably the main driver for me over this last 2018 that I've really sat into and absorbed, is just that desire to be a role model for others that are feeling pain and wanting more out of life.
And I think if you really pull it apart, what is the worst that is going to happen with you sharing your story or being open about your story? Because the whole reason that, well, the whole way that judgment and all of those negative assumptions that we have other people are having upon us is, we're worried about what they're going to think about us. But once you lay it all out, and all your cards are kind of on the table, and you're like, this is me, this is who I am. They'll either step up to you, or they'll step away from you. Yeah. But there's nothing they can hold over you. There's nothing that they can kind of shame you with, because, you know, I'm the same. I've shared it in my groups. I've shared all my life out. So there's no one that can come up to me and tell me something I don't know about myself, because I already know. There's nothing they can come up to me and say, you know, do you want people to know that this happened? I've already talked about it. I've already done a video about it. I've already shared it. I've already taken photos of it. There's nothing that can be. So it's so freeing, because I'm not having to ever look over my shoulder about anything. I'm not having to worry about that, because it's all there. And it's, if they don't want to hear it, that's got nothing to do with me. If they're too confronted by my reality, that sucks, but I don't care.
No. And so can I ask, right, because this is something that's come up for a lot of people, especially with the 30-day Go Live Challenge. If you aren't on it, get there and do it. But the thing that I'm hearing, and with other people, is that they are concerned about opening up completely and sharing because of that judgment of their network, because they've got this professional look or state that they want to be seen, or a light that they want to be seen in. And they're afraid that if people knew X, Y, and Z about them, that would impact them professionally. And you and me have created like a container for ourselves to just like, and a platform for us to do this, right? So we're out there, we're making videos every day and content, and actively doing this anyway with what we do. But for those that are in a different profession and that aren't, you know, straight up talking to people every single day in public like we are, what sort of advice do you give to them in
well, look, I mean, you and I, like you said, we're doing that out in our own groups and online, and we're happy to do that. And I totally understand that airing all your dirty laundry and sharing everything online may not float everyone's boat, right? So it may not just be the way that they prove that they're vulnerable. But it's not about where you share it. It's about how you share it. Okay, so if you feel like, and like you're saying, if someone's in a professional setting and they need to be talking about something, it doesn't mean that you can't go into that office and speak to them and say, hey, look, this is what's happened to me in the past. This is why I act like this. This offends me or upsets me or whatever it is, and still be open about it, because you're going to react whether you're sharing it or not, right? This is the thing about being truthful and open.
Yes.
You are going to react to it, whether or not you tell people. And it's just about giving them the heads up about where this comes from or why you act like that, you know? So either way, there's going to be residual effects from your story anyway. So being brave enough to, and like I said, that's not having to share it across the whole of Facebook, but that's about saying to people, and it's about, you know, being vulnerable is the biggest sign of self-respect, because it's saying, I don't like this, or this upsets me, or this is a sore point for me, or I'm working on that. But you're putting yourself first, saying, this is what I need here. This is where I'm going, or this is where I've come from. So I need this. It's really putting yourself first. Being vulnerable is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself and for the relationships around you.
I used to think vulnerability was weakness. And I think that's what a lot of guys especially feel, and women as well. But it is one of, if not the greatest show of strength and courage to sit in that and to allow yourself to be that, which is completely, opposite of what I was brought up to think about it.
Well, even like we were saying earlier, it doesn't make, even if somebody doesn't like it or they're judging you on it, it doesn't, even if they're judging you on something, like, and let's be practical about it. Everyone's afraid of being judged, so let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about what it feels like to be judged, right? Even if they don't like it, it doesn't make your experience any less true. You don't have to justify whether or not that happened. You're telling them, but it's not kind of up for negotiation of whether or not they believe you or not. That is what it is. So if you're feeling like someone's going, oh, well, that was a bad choice, or I don't think that was the right thing to do, me and you both, you know, like I've made my peace with my choices, and it is what it is, and I'm just going to learn with it. So it's your experience isn't up for negotiation. And I feel like that's where that judgment comes from, because you're trying to soften how somebody else sees you, or how, and that's not true then. And you're not respecting your own feelings and your own journey of where you've come from.
And even beyond that, from talking about the past and your experiences to creating new ones and expressing yourself and being creative, and that fear of that judgment on that side, I just view judgment as people projecting their own insecurities. And so I meet judgment now the way, like, literally when I see people judging anyone, I'm compassionate and sort of loving towards them, because I know that they've got some pain and insecurity that's bringing that up, and they really want to change, because to put that energy and put that focus and effort into whatever they're judging or hating on, that is a call for help. It's a sign of someone that wants to change but doesn't know how, and that's how it's coming out in that expression. Yeah. So it's not about me. Like, I'm bringing up something that I can maybe help this person with, but it's
and like, sorry to interrupt you, but like you just said, we're assuming the worst of other people. We're assuming that they're thinking the worst. We're thinking that they're not. People want to be good, and I'll say that till my last breath. People want to be good, and if you ever see any charity posts on Facebook, or you see anything that is moving or is heartbreaking, people will rally, right? So people want to be good. So it's not fair for us to assume the worst of people, that we think that they're thinking so badly of us as well, because they're probably not. They're probably going, oh, you know, whatever I can do to help you, or I've been there, or don't worry, or let me talk to you, or let's connect, or I know someone. So, and I did a video about this somewhere as well, about judgment, and it's just repeating your point about we can only identify the judgment if it's already a nerve within us, right? So we can't identify them saying something horrible about us if it's not already there in us. So fix the button. Don't worry about the judgment. Fix what's going on in here that makes you identify that judgment.
And a thought that came to me is like, people are trying so hard not to feel judged. But when someone comes and says, Sam, you did a fucking amazing job. I really love what you're doing. Like, you inspire me, right? You motivate me. I love just seeing what you're up to. That's a judgment. I'll welcome that judgment any day of the fucking week. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I'll take it.
Yeah. So,
well, and this is, I've got a post coming up about this as well, about judgment is everywhere. We have to judge situations for our safety. You know, we judge people that we want to be friends with if they share the same values and things like that. There is going to be judgment out there, but it doesn't mean that going, you know, that it's about the worst. Like, we're always just so quick to jump to the worst scenario, or the worst case, or the worst feeling, or the, you know, the worst outcome. But actually, most people, if they are, like you said, are going, I've been watching you, the insecure person in me would say, why? What did you know, and get defensive about it. But what they actually are saying is, I really like what you're doing, and I've been watching you, and it's how we're hearing it, and it's just all the insecurities. We can't see or feel judgment if it's not already within us to hear its call.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the presuppositions of coaching as well is that there's a positive intent behind everything people do. So even Hitler doing what he did, the positive intent was he wanted to create a certain country for his people and his family, and in his mind, he was doing something with a positive intent. And so there is always that there. So Tanya wrote in, people expecting the worst from me because I was a right dickhead. I really was. And I can attest, like, I've still got aftershocks from my decisions in the past and stuff that I'd done. And I mean, my stepdad, he blocked me from Facebook recently because he's seen so much stuff come up, and he's like, mate, you're just a fucking shit talker. He doesn't want to have a bar of it, not a bar of anything, right? Because he's so set in the ways that I've programmed him by my past behaviors and my decisions. He's just not there yet. And so,
I want to talk about this.
So just quickly as well, just to go full circle as well, this relates back to maintaining our momentum, because essentially all the things that block our momentum are our own insecurities and our own fears and our own doubts. And that's why I guess we've gone down this road, is because these are the things that have been coming up massively for a lot of people that I've been talking to, and I know you too. Yeah. So go.
So when it comes to behaviors and doing anything new, I always say it's like being a bit like an addict, right? So if I do one thing and someone does another thing, and we've done that same interaction for 20 years, and that's just how, and then I change something about that, they're like in withdrawal mode, and they're going to keep pushing me, and they're going to keep judging me, or they're going to keep trying to get me to reenact that behavior that they're kind of used to or addicted to or whatever, but they are comfortable with that interaction. So when you change something, if you say no where you used to say yes, right? Or what Tanya was saying, like, you've done something in the past and people have this judgment of you now because you've changed now and you're not the same person and they're just going to have to learn new behaviors, like anyone that gives up any kind of addictions or anything, on how they interact with you now. They're relearning how to interact with you now. So it takes some time, like with anything when you're trying something new, but it will get there if you keep making those, forward steps.
You've been a part of their ego. So in the state where I was, right, like I was partying out, rocking every weekend, doing everything right, and the people that were around that were involved with me then, I was I was an affirmation for what they were doing was okay. And so as soon as I take myself out of that and step up and do something different, straight away that's a challenge on who they are, on their ego, and on their sense of identity. And so it's natural for them to want to defend everything that they've built up to survive in that space. And it is going to come across like, no, you're fucking wrong, don't do this, don't do that, and whatever that judgment is. But essentially, again, it's just...
So I bet in that situation, Matt, they would have come back to you saying, well, why don't you want to go out anymore? Why don't you want to do this? Are you saying that what we're doing is wrong? Like, it becomes that they're like trying to push you back into what they're comfortable with and how they know you. So when you start saying no when you should say yes, or vice versa, then they are relearning how to be friends with you, or who you are, and they're just trying to grow into that. So a lot of that, when you do have people judging you from what you've done in the past, is because they have only one idea of who you are, and you've evolved. So they're just it's gonna take them a little time to catch up on their evolution as well with that relationship with you, but they will get there. But you just have to keep that forward motion to show that this is the new interaction that you're having, and you just keep doing what you're doing moving forward.
Did you see the video on the Ego Backlash?
Yes.
I did?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what that is. People, like, again, trying to change the curtains, moving people out of our lives instead of looking within. And all these people coming up in those moments, as soon as we say we're going to do something, we chuck it out there, the universe will be like, here you go, you can have it. You can have it, right? It's yours. But there's going to be tests and trials and challenges to strengthen the core of who you are, so that you can hold that up. You can have that characteristic or that trait or what you want. And so these people are there to help us grow, help us strengthen this new part of us, because like we've been running this same pathway in our brain, the same neuro pathway for so long. It's gotten so thick. It's a well-worn path. And so to rip that apart and to create a new one, it takes time and challenges and effort. So all these things that we're looking at that happen outside of us, I used to define as fucking hell, like another thing. Why doesn't life work for me? Why does all this shit happen? Now I look at it as, this is another challenge for me to strengthen that little habit and that little pathway that I've just created. And it's met with a whole new attitude, and that's where you can maintain momentum and push through the challenges. It's not like the challenge isn't there. It's just like the grass that you're walking in just got a fucking another meter thicker, and you're going to have to walk a little bit slower and a little bit more careful and just push the fuck through and maintain that momentum until you get to a clear spot again. But yeah.
And I've heard you say this as well about that kind of, it's like a muscle memory, you know, like it. And if you're trying to do something new, if it was that easy, you would just be doing it, right? Like nothing good ever came easy. So if you're trying to do something new and you're going outside of your comfort zone, and you're doing something that, like I was saying before, you've got the same interaction and you're trying to change that interaction, of course it's going to be difficult. Like if anyone got anything out of this video, is it is going to be difficult, right? So just get your head around that there is going to be challenges. There is going to be hurdles, because your will is being tested to the commitment to the outcome. So if you want it, you're going to have to prove it, not to anyone else. You're going to have to prove it to yourself that you're willing to let go. And earlier you asked me, you know, about what I'd learned in 2018, and I said I'd learned how addicted to my behaviors were. This is what I'm talking about, is learning about whether I was ready to let go of those and my behaviors in those interactions, let alone everyone else's that I had been in. So those challenges are going to be, there is always going to be hurdles, because if it was that easy, you would just have it. Everyone would have it. So if you can be in front of knowing that at least it's going to be hard, that you can at least build, like you said, build that to go, oh, I got this, one way or another, I will figure this out. And even if it takes me a day, a week, a year, I will get there, but I'm ready for the challenges. And being in front of that is so powerful anyway, because then you go, okay, well, I'm just ready for the curveball. I'm ready. You're not willing it, but you're ready for it. So you're going, everything is fixable. Nothing lasts forever. It'll just be, you know, the next day I'll feel fine about it and I'll just figure it out.
Bang on. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's having that it's just completely letting go of old definitions and perspectives and creating those new ones, because it is like the challenge is when you're in that with that perspective of this is fucked, this just ruined my life, this just ruined this whole thing, this path that I was on can't be happening now. Like all these things come up, how these challenges just completely obliterate our sense of where we're going and what we're doing, and seems so like such a big burden. When you can transform that thought pattern to like you said, one of expecting them to come and meeting them with ease and grace and pleasure, and like, challenge accepted, motherfucker, what you got?
Yay.
I was waiting for you.
Yeah.
It's easy. Like, it's not that it's not, the challenges aren't hard, but it's so much
and take
easier.
it as a universal signaling that everything you want is on the back of this challenge, you know? So just gloves up and get ready and go for it. You know, like it's already waiting there. Yeah, let's do this.
Rumble in the jungle. Yeah, cool.
Is there any, I can't see any comments. Is there anyone wanting to ask any questions while we're on a roll about this?
There's been a lot of comments. People are loving it. Mike says, nothing good comes easy. The best things are worked for and come as an award for effort. Boom. Except for at the Vic markets, you can get free testers. Yeah.
That's good.
Tanya says, moving forward, that was awesome, Sam. Yeah, that's why it's so shaky being on the other side of the judgment, looking with Buddha eyes, walking with Buddha legs. Things are shifting. It is so incredibly powerful, this feeling of manifest. Says Tanya. Beautiful. Challenge is learning, says Mike. I'm hearing you, says Brad. Incredible stuff. Hi, Mike. Hi, guys. Yeah, look. What about where we were today in respect to, don't be, no sorries, Tanya. Stuff your sorries in a sack. We don't need them. Sorry, I'm excited, she says. I can bang on, be excited. Let the good times roll. It's part of your momentum. So today, right, like you and I have got a fair bit of momentum going on at the moment. And today we both connected and we're like,
flat.
Fucking
flat.
Yeah.
I think with that as well is knowing, I think with anything, we appreciate joy and we appreciate happiness and time with family because we know we're limited, like it's fleeting. So it's going to pass eventually and there's going to be something new. Next day is going to go on, right? So when I feel flat, I know that it's just for now and I've got to do what I need to do. I'm not going to feel like that forever. And when you do feel flat, for me, it goes, okay, I need to get back to my own basics. So if that means, all right, I've talked enough today, I need to cut off from social media. I'm renowned for doing that. So I will go to my network and say, it's my time, I'm cutting off for 2 days, right? Like that's me. Because when I'm flat, I'm not running at any decent capacity for anybody. So I need to do that. And when I do feel flat like I was feeling today, I just need to go, do you know what? I'm going to lean into this rather than avoid it, rather than being like, for me, I'm going to go for a run and feel flat. I'm like, okay, so I need to just sit for an hour, or I need to read, or I just need to do nothing and not look at my phone for an hour or whatever it is. And then I'm normally out of it. But I rather than avoiding it, because then you pass through it quicker as opposed to, just being like, oh, I'm flat. And then you just carry it on longer and longer because then you're getting annoyed at yourself going. Then you're getting flat. Then you're getting annoyed at yourself because you're not performing the way that you want to, instead of just going, you know what, I'm flat and I'm not feeling it today and I'm just not going to do it, and tomorrow I will. Like, just be self-forgiving, be kind to yourself. You don't have to be running like a robot 24/7.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I went for a walk. That was when I was coming home last night, and I had some music on. I wasn't feeling it. I changed that music to something like a different genre. Still wasn't feeling it. I thought maybe I need to listen to an audio book. Chuck that on. Still wasn't feeling it. and then just end up coming home in silence afterwards, just needed nothing. And it's just, when you're really in touch, like you just feel what's going on. And then for me today, like I woke up, slept in, I slept in past like the time I was meant to meet a friend, so I missed him, stood him up, and yeah, it was just feeling like chilled as fuck and not wanting to do anything, and just was okay just doing that. And the thing that has helped me be like this, another teacher, he's like, stop making yourself wrong, Matt. It's not about making yourself wrong. And literally, like, if you're eating Doritos in your jocks, sitting on your couch all day watching Netflix, like that's your purpose in life for that day. That's your purpose, to be there and be in that and experience it. And there's that illusion of duality and where we're all separate, and these emotions are all separate. That's good and that's bad, but this is good and that's bad. That, like, we're fucking born, like we're 1 in 400 trillion chance of even having a life. Right, we've got more chance of winning Tats Lotto 10 times than even having a life. So they're all gifts. It's all beautiful to experience.
Well, what is going to happen? Like, realistically, what is going to happen if you say, do you know what, I just want to watch Netflix and eat Doritos today? Like, what will happen? What are we so afraid of happening that we're like, can't do that? My body's telling me I need what, like, you're not going to get struck by lightning, you know? So what is it that we're so building here to go, oh, I can't do that? Says who? You know, like, what is the worst case scenario that we're trying to avoid in doing what our body is telling us that we need? Because there's no one policing that. Like, there's no one policing what you do with your time. So it's just coming from within you again, or any expectations or whatever that you're feeling. But there is no consequence to you just choosing to do what you need to do.
Yeah. I feel like I've been sold really well on this, on the trust to put into my body, and the trust to put into my intuition. And so just having that level of trust within ourselves, that was really sold to me on a very logical, rational, analytical sort of way first, and then in an experiential way as well. And we talk about this, and I know even in 5-hour conversation, it would still be skimming over the amount of information that there is out there to point towards the importance and the validity of that. But yeah, I don't know, I guess for people that aren't there yet, that haven't been completely sold on that, figure it out, find those answers and seek it. But yeah, those that live like that just do really trust in themselves, it's pretty powerful. It's really powerful.
And the people that aren't sold on it yet, they're probably getting that signaling and they don't realize. Like when they have those days of just wanting to rebel and going, I quit the job or something, where they go completely outside. There is something in them saying there's got to be a different way, or this isn't fulfilling, or this isn't working for me anymore. And all these different things, they probably are getting that signaling already. And I think everyone to some degree is at that point in their life, no matter what age that they're at, and are going, you know, I just need to hunker down and understand what's going on with me. Like I was saying earlier, understand where this sits with me, what I want to do, how I want to do things, and carry forward with that. Because like we've just talked about this whole time, it's like if you just listen, you will find your way. Like if you just listen to what your body's telling you, your heart's telling you, your mind's telling you, if you can just really hear it and get to a point where you're not overanalyzing it, just go. Like I always do everything by rapid fire questions. Do I want to do that? Yes, no. Do I just go? You know the answer anyway. Everything else outside of that is just interlinking responsibilities and expectations and what you think everyone else is thinking and just everything else. It's like, it should just be, do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that? And just move with it a little bit more.
100%. And it is literally the millisecond after you've come up with that feeling and that understanding of where you're going to go, that your mind will jump in and tell you all the fucking reasons why it's not going to work and all the things that's going to go wrong. And that's your mind keeping you safe, keeping you in your comfort zone, because anything new is out of your comfort zone. There's no evidence for your mind to say that. Yeah.
Do you want to know how I flip that with people when they say that? Like, my mind starts creating all these scenarios.
Yep.
I always say,
Yep.
so your mind already thinks that you can do it. It's already picturing you doing it, and it's telling you all the reasons, all the things that can happen. Do you know what I mean? You've already visualized yourself doing it for it to already have pictured all these things that could happen. So your mind's already signaling to you that it's like, oh, you might actually do this. It already thinks that you're going to do it. So it's telling you all the reasons. So instead of looking at it like you're getting all these, well, it's telling me all the reasons I can't do it. You're also, you know, being told that your brain thinks you can. This is the reasons why you shouldn't. So you're already there.
Yeah, 100%. And this is our superpower. Like, this is what is possible. If you guys read Joe Dispenza, you'll know this. You've seen what the belief, it talks about it. There's plenty of information about this, and there's plenty of evidence, right? They've taken people through tests, school tests. There are people that have done tests, and then they've gone and they've studied it after they've done the test, and then they've opened up the answers, and they've aced it because they studied it after doing the test. It's just, time is not this straight line that we've been sort of led to believe it's on either. There's more to it, and 95% of our thoughts that are the same shit as yesterday, it's because we're basing it on our past experiences instead of creatively putting stuff in front of us for time to catch up to, like that, just like that.
And how we keep reenacting those situations is because we're already preempting the past that's already happened. So if something happens in the past and in the same situation, like you're just saying, but we tend to manifest that into our life because we're already reenacting that behavior preemptively. So, and it just keeps reaffirming that it's going to stay that way because we haven't changed. I always say you can have the butterfly effect in your own life, but just by changing one word. Say yes where you should say no where you should have said yes. Everything else around that will start to change. It's so that simple. It is so that simple. If you want to make changes, you don't have to be going leaping off out of planes and things like that to be making these huge pivotal changes. It's just that one little thing that instead of you having someone come up to you who would normally be, say, combative, and then you would get defensive, instead of you coming at that with compassion or questions or identifying what's going on with them, they're not going to react the same as what they did because you've changed it. And it's so that simple to change every situation that you're in.
And this was part of the trouble I had, / maybe have still a little bit in there actually, with charging people for the conversations I'm having and for doing coaching with people, is because it is literally simplifying the shit out of everything, maybe tweaking a few perspectives and definitions, maybe pulling out a few old belief systems, but essentially it's holding people accountable to a simple methodology of being, just being. Yeah.
Well, we even with how we look at everything, we're overcomplicating everything. So we're starting to make these roadmaps about, well, this and it's like, okay, tomorrow if you are driving to work and you drive the same way to work every time and you keep running late, where you would go right, go left and try it a different way. Just try it a different way. Make one simple change instead of overcomplicating everything. And, well, what if I go left and there's a traffic light? What if I don't know, what if I get lost? Like, it hasn't happened. Just do it and you'll figure it out. Like, make the small changes and it will change. Like, it's so that simple. And it really doesn't have to be so massive and so unobtainable for everyone to get to that place. Just listen and do. That's it.
That's why I grabbed onto the name and gravitated towards the name Trim Tab for what I'm doing. So I've got the Trim Tab Transformation Foundation that I run, and then Trim Tab Coaching as well. It's just that small change, little rudder on the big rudder of a big ship. And so it's that small change that makes a massive difference. And it really is like, it can literally be changing, like altering the definition of a word that you hold on to, or a tiny belief system, or a tiny little consistent habit that you can implement that just changes your life.
Changes everything.
It's the gateway. I got a question from Rachel a little bit earlier. She said, being in a huge funk and trying to figure out why. That's if you got more info, Rachel, but I think we've been sort of touching on that anyway, just by, what comes up for you?
Well, I think for anyone who's kind of feeling like they're not connecting to anything, or they're just not feeling inspired, and they're not feeling, right? Like when you're feeling flat or you're feeling in a funk, you're just kind of flatlining on everything, right? I was talking to you about this today, right? About what I've noticed for me, so this may work differently for everyone else, but if this is your comfort zone, all those feelings of joy and happiness for me have always been when I've done something outside of that comfort zone. That's when I feel that adrenaline rush. That's when I feel that joy. And again, that's not doing anything massive, but if you're in a funk, it means you're not being inspired by anything. So you need to do something that makes you feel inspired or joyful or happy. And if it's within that comfort zone, it ain't working, because you wouldn't be feeling like that. So try and do something new, just something small that pushes you a little bit, because you will feel after that. You'll feel excited. You'll feel, that you've achieved something. You'll feel like you've tried something new. It's something completely out of your routine. Just that one little change, but it has to be outside your comfort zone, because if it was in that comfort zone, you wouldn't be in a funk.
Yeah. Anthony Robbins says that the key to happiness is progression. So sometimes it's as small as doing the fucking dishes. It'll make you happy, give you a little spurt of the drug you need. It's just doing something to be progressive and to make progress on something. So that's another little nugget. It's going off a little. You can't see the chats, can you?
No.
It's been very active today. Thanks for joining us, guys, as well, for hanging out. Mumsy Bear, among all the other legends. I'm so freaking warm right now.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to go for another swim at the beach, I think.
Stop it.
All right, momentum. Anything else you want to cover, or any other questions that have come up over the last day or two that people have brought up in your tribe?
I think kind of on a more of a closing point is everything that we're all, that if you're looking for outward, you can and will absolutely find within you. And I was saying this in my own group the other day, you are braver than your fear. So anything whether it's touching on an emotion, whether it's touching on a memory, whether it's on anything, you are braver than your fear. So if you're wanting to move forward, the whole way for you to do that is to really get to know who you are, because the power comes from that vulnerability, and that vulnerability is knowing who you are and where you come from. So really, you want to move forward and have those changes. Write a list of everything that you love, what food you love, what memory you loved, what experience was your favorite. Talk about, write a list of all the things that that are your strengths. Write all your things that you're working on. Write all the experiences and memories that you didn't like. Write all the lessons that you've learned, but just get to know you. Like, no more saying to me, anybody, I don't know why I did that. Okay? No more saying that to me. I want you to tell me why you did that and own it.
Fucking own. What just came up for me was that I feel like vulnerability is just another way of saying true self-expression. That's what I sort of feel it is for me now. Yep. And that means when I'm walking down the street listening to my tunes, I'm generally got a bit of a swagger to me, or a bit of a dance, or a skip and a hop. Dance. Yeah. Talking like to people on the whim, like if they come past you. Just the smallest little things, and just gliding through your day with joy and just being spontaneous, expressive. Yes.
Outside that comfort zone. Just do something new. Make a friend. Make a phone call. If you make the same dinner every Wednesday night, go and roll into Domino's and grab a pizza instead. Just do something new.
Yeah, 100%. Do something new. I love it. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out. Good chat.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to go jump in the swimming pool at least. Maybe not the ocean. The ocean scares me at night time.
Yeah, it would be. Well, yeah, thanks for having me, Matt. And if anyone has any questions for me, please PM me, I guess. And I'm always happy to have a chat. So, you know, send it over and we'll do that. And yeah, add me as a friend and we'll
Where
talk
can they
something
find you?
new.
What are you doing? And let them know what you're doing next year as well.
Okay, so I've got a couple of events coming up. So I've got the Warrior Woman Journey that will be starting in Stanthorpe, Dalby and Warwick in January and beginning of February. We've got the Warrior Women online group where we've got 3 new coaches coming in. So that's more of a self-empowerment place for all my warrior women out there who want to join in. We've got a fitness, a wellbeing coach and a health coach in there. So we kind of go and I'll talk a lot about mindset. So you can come in there and check all the videos out. And then we've just launched a Warrior Women business group. So for anyone who is in business and wants to come over, we've got some coaches starting in January in sales and social media and networking and everything like that. So make sure you come on over and you can find all of that on Facebook at the Warrior Women Network.
Boom.
Boom.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Do the 30-day go live challenge with Maddie because it's changing so many lives. It's amazing.
It really is. Yeah, it's amazing. Beautiful bunch of people, a lot of support, and a lot of people challenging themselves, stepping outside that comfort zone, making some progress, and creating a lot of happiness. A lot of happiness.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, Sammy. Take it easy, guys. Thank you for joining us and for hanging out. Another episode of The Daily Beat.
Thanks,
done.
guys.
Episode 30 tomorrow. Keep it real.
Bye.